What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to part 2 of State of the WWE, episode 84. This is part 2. It was so big, we had to make a second part. Just like my cock is so big, I had to make room in my pants. No, it's just kidding. 6.5. Okay, so let's talk about this. We're getting into the Go Home show on Monday Night Raw. So that's what I don't know what you had planned, Jake, for this story, or if you want to just go through the matches.
I was going to go through what, you know, the preview of what they have for Raw tomorrow, and then Dave was going to touch on the importance and what it means for Wrestlemania. So basically for Raw tomorrow, what's being advertised ahead of time is, will Seth Rollins sign Triple H's hold harmless agreement? They're also announced that they have announced that Goldberg and Brock Lesnar are going to be under the same roof. You know, what will that lead to be? Raw is also left without a general manager, so is someone going to fill those shoes? Can Bayley rebound before WrestleMania's Fatal 4-Way match because she lost on the week before, you know, the last episode of Raw? Can Chris Jericho get even with Kevin Owens after last week's assault? And has The Undertaker officially gotten into Roman Reigns' head? So those are the quick hits that WWE.com has given us for tomorrow night's Go Home show for WrestleMania 33.
All right. Well, that's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen tomorrow night for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of intrigue, a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of what-ifs and possibilities, which is something I really enjoy as a wrestling fan. I like to you know, speculate and you know, pretty much guess and add my opinion to the mix on what's going to happen and how it's going to go down, so...
It's amazing that we're, I can't even believe that we're like a week away from WrestleMania.
I know, it actually flew by this year, even though it's been pretty much one of the worst builds we've had in years, and it feels like we keep saying that as each year passes.
It's getting better. It has been getting better, but it's amazing that it's just starting to sort of get better in the last week.
At least on the Raw side, anyways, I should say. There's really not much intrigue on the Raw side. Despite Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, that's the only feud I feel really warrants a WrestleMania caliber match.
You know, real quick,
the rest are all pretty lackluster.
Before I forget it, I know we're talking about Raw right now, but I real quick wanted to mention on SmackDown that, you know, we talk about AJ Styles getting the shaft, but he's kind of co-main eventing the SmackDown side of things, because that story is, it almost feels like that's the biggest story on SmackDown. I mean, and then you forget about Wyatt and Orton. It's almost taking a seat to that. I mean, that's almost taking a seat to that. I mean, I don't know. They're equal. I don't know. So they're co-main.
Yeah, I mean, that is the truth. And Shane is impressive. I mean, you know, his back catalog is nothing to scoff at. I mean, he is a hard worker, and I know he'll do everything in his power to make it a very quality match. I don't think Undertaker was the right opponent for Shane last year, and that's why it was very slow and you know, methodical to a sense, and it all built up to that one moment, that one crescendo. Mm-hmm. And that's actually one of the top questions being posed by Fox Sports. What is Shane McMahon going to jump off of this year at WrestleMania? You know, I found that amusing. But
I don't know.
Dave, what did you want to touch upon for the Go Home show exactly? What was on your mind?
Well, I've been, again, haranguing people at the fact that the build-up for WrestleMania this year, to me, does not fit what it should be. Because, again, I consider WrestleMania the Christmas of the wrestling industry, and it should present itself as such. So,
like you said, it's a time for chicken wings. I liked your your line before.
Basically what I had told you off the air was that despite the fact that, you know, we are presented with situations where we might not be totally agreeing on, we don't know the outcome of, for a pay-per-view, I try to make it the best I can. I fucking celebrate it. I get my chicken wings, which I save for special occasions. You know, I get, you know, finger foods and like maybe order out or something. But, you know, I try to make it as enjoyable as possible. And the thing is with WrestleMania this year, to me, it hasn't been built up properly. I'm not necessarily looking forward to it, but I'm not necessarily discounting it. I'm just sort of indifferent, and that's my problem. I just don't want to feel indifferent. I feel that around this time I should feel like a kid in a candy store, like, who, you know, what's going to happen, like, this should be enjoyable, who knows what kind of surprises are, on my way. But
instead it feels like you're waiting for the Easter Bunny, not Santa. You know,
it's just a disappointing feeling that I've got, and again, I've had different experiences in the past, which is why I prefer that this WrestleMania feel like one of the traditional ones, or at least the ones that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the end. I mean, it's gonna come down to the matches. If the matches are great, cool. But I mean, I'm trying to think of what happened last year. Like, unfortunately,
but what are we going to see tomorrow at the Go Home show? I mean, we've got 1 week left, and WrestleMania is not a day; it's a weekend, and it's sometimes even more. And I think that's great. I mean, I really like that idea that it's got this whole, you got the Access, you've got takeover, you've got all these different events
Hall of
going
Fame.
on.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about
that
takeover.
really is and again, it's like the Disney World of wrestling. Like, you could really enjoy yourself with all these different aspects. And I know that sometimes they've got these things where you can have, say, breakfast with Booker T or something like that. I mean, that is so cool.
It is pretty cool.
It really has to meet the hype,
Well, we haven't had a go home show for a pay-per-view on the Raw side of things that felt worthy of being called a go home show since before the brand split. In almost a year, in fact, actually, if you go back and look even further before that, we had issues with things. So this, to me, tomorrow has the potential to feel like a true go home show, an episode of Raw to wet your whistle and make you hungry for WrestleMania. This is going to build up the appetite for the show of shows. I feel like it has all the makings of a true go home show. There's a lot of things that need to be answered, and there's a lot of hype to be built on, and it's all piggybacking on 1 3-hour episode. To me, I think they're going to start off with one of the key factors that last week built off of is Mick Foley's fired. We know he's gone. So are they going to replace somebody? Are they going to do it? Are they going to announce that they're going to replace somebody at WrestleMania? I mean, we pretty much are all but confident that it is going to be Kurt Angle replacing Foley at this point, right?
I've got to believe so.
There's a lot of articles that seem to indicate that exactly is going to happen. So, it seems that that's the way it's going to go.
I've heard 3 rumors, and most of which point towards it being Mr. Angle. The other 2 were Jim Cornette and then Eric Bischoff, but neither of those seem as feasible as Kurt Angle does. He's definitely feigned interest in returning in any fashion that he could, and I know he does want to wrestle. He even had a bit of an exchange this past weekend with his old, counterpart Bobby Roode. They faced each other quite a bit in TNA, obviously, and Kurt Angle put out a new T-shirt where he's actually has the ankle locked in onto Bobby Roode. So Roode put out a tweet that said, "Oh, that the other guy on this Kurt Angle shirt looks familiar." And Angle said, "Yes, it's you. Don't ever forget it. We can make this happen again if you want." And Bobby Roode says, "Sounds glorious." So a match or even a confrontation between Bobby Roode and Kurt Angle.
That'd be great.
That would be
how
amazing.
would that fit in as his position as the GM for Raw?
God knows, and I mean, but we've seen general managers have matches. Look at Shane facing AJ, so anything's possible. It literally can happen. We're seeing a general manager right now face off against the face that runs the place. So I think that they're going to say that they're going to announce the replacement at WrestleMania. I don't think they're actually going to have the replacement show up tomorrow night on Raw, but I imagine Raw starting off with Stephanie coming out and announcing that she'll be letting everybody know who the new GM is at WrestleMania.
Have you seen X-Pac, dude? X-Pac is in fucking amazing shape.
He looks fantastic. He commented on a tweet.
Good for him.
He was out of shape and shit. Like when I saw him last year in summer, I mean, he was, beaten up and he had the pot belly and, he was very beat up. And now he's ripped. The fuck?
He looks excellent. I
can't believe that. That's awesome.
He tweeted a photo of him looking, absolutely, like you said, just huge. The arms, he's got that great 6-pack, and it said physically and mentally in the best shape of my life. And, you know, we've seen him as the 1-2-3 Kid, and then later moving WCW, becoming a member of the NWO, and then being X-Pac with, you know, D-Generation X. A lot of people reached out to him. JR said, wow, congratulations, Sean, proud of you. Eric Bischoff, a lot of his wrestler friends. And, you know, it's been a long and rocky road for X-Pac for sure, but he's made a great recovery, and maybe this has a sign of things to come. Maybe he has offerings in the future. So you never know. Maybe we'll be reporting something soon enough, and we'll be surprised. Another thing, talking about someone making recovery, is Seth Rollins. Is he ready for a confrontation with Triple H at WrestleMania? You know, originally we worried that this leg thing was a work. We found out it wasn't. It was a real issue. You know, they turned it into an angle, and it's been working for the most part. But I'm worried about that match. Air quotes around the word match. I mean, what do you think we're going to get out of Triple H and Seth at Mania? Do you think it's just going to be a regular brawl without a pinfall scenario, or?
I really, they've got me guessing here. I mean, the fact that he got in the ring the other day, and it's like he's got more time to heal, I got to believe they're going to attempt to go for it. I mean, obviously we're going to see. You know, if Finn Balor returns, you know, doesn't. I mean, at this point, like whether he's coming the night after Raw, it still feels to me because Samoa Joe doesn't. Am I right that he doesn't have a match still?
Samoa Joe does not have a match, so people are still assuming that he'll be in the Battle Memorial.
Well,
for the Andre the Giant Memorial.
I still think he's going to show up and jump Seth Rollins with Triple H, and then Finn Balor is going to return and at WrestleMania and help Seth Rollins. Bleacher.com brought up a point that I wanted to bring up as well. They said, given the makeup of the current roster, a Finn Balor heel turn isn't the most impossible swerve that could happen at WrestleMania. In fact, there's odds of it happening. They've heard some rumblings themselves. He worked predominantly as a babyface in the short period when he was on the main roster, they say here. But him showing up at Mania as a shock to turn heel makes booing sense on a lot of levels. The fact that he could screw Rollins makes even more sense. After all, Seth was the guy who caused the injury that forced Balor onto the shelf. Because as much as we've been saying that, oh, he'll come out and he'll help Seth because he has bad history with Samoa Joe. Yeah. Why would he help Seth, though, if Seth was the one that injured him?
Actually, this builds a lot to what both Joe and I think JD may have talked about, is the fact that there's a good chance that you might see this new, you know...
Evolution,
exactly, stable. That's
this Balor club.
Exactly. So, who knows?
The fact that Balor already has a close relationship with Triple H, who, you know, Rollins is facing, it adds fuel to the fire of a Balor heel turn. And think about it. I think that was something that we were really disappointed about. We never got a major debut for Finn Balor on the main roster. We waited and waited and waited for weeks for him to make some sort of impact. And he teased us, and he taunted us, and he toyed with us repeatedly over and over and over on Twitter, Instagram, every type of social media possible.
And it's happened again.
And then he just went ahead and showed up the Monday after the draft. He walked out on the stage, and they told us that he'd be facing Roman Reigns. We didn't have any grand moment. There was no big spectacle. It was just a match announced. And I feel like this could really be a true homecoming in a sense. You know, the possibility of the Ballard Club coming back together. And it makes sense to have Balor as a heel. He was a great heel in New Japan. You know, it was something that was very entertaining when he was, Prince Devitt. It was a magical showing on his end. So, like you said, Dave, with Triple H pushing this new evolution, this new stable, we could have that. That could be the Balor Club.
I just don't think he'll do it because he's again, it's like he does well with merchandise and he's a face and the whole gimmick with the demon. I don't know.
But they're saying, they're going to keep Jericho around for a while. So he's been turned to a face, Seth's a face, and they have Roman still. And they're even saying that this might lead to the resurrection of the Shield for SummerSlam to face these the new evolution. So, I mean, it's definitely something to consider. It is something feasible too. I mean, you put the puzzle pieces in a row, and you can kind of set them up and knock them down. But
that would be WWE's wet dream to put the Shield back together, because then you'd have once again, everybody that loves Seth, loves Dean, loves Roman, all coming together to buy the merchandise, and then you don't have anybody really booing.
There you go. There's the key word, merchandise.
And merchandising. Get your Shield lunchbox and
yeah, they almost reset
your Shield
the whole thing.
flamethrower. Again, we also have Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. You know, the pterodactyl himself. They're both going to be under the same roof. You know, Brock was there last week, but he didn't come out until after the show. He fought Big Show in a dark match. You know, like you said, this has been talked to death. I really just want to see it at this point. I'm tired of speculating how long the match is going to go. Who's going to come out on top?
Did you say Dr. Death Steve Williams? I don't know why I just said that. I don't know.
Hey, it works. I don't really care.
Not for Dr. Death, it didn't.
No, it didn't work at all. But I don't care about Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. I don't care who walks out the winner. I don't even really want to see the match. I think that's been one of my main issues with WrestleMania, because this has so heavily been the focus of the card that it's kind of taken away from the event personally. How do you feel, Dave?
I agree. I mean, again, I'm not really looking forward to this. Again, I'm not blaming Goldberg, but I do think that he needs to sort of realize his limitations. And unfortunately, we're being forced to watch a show where it's more about, I guess, maybe personal ego, or the fact that he signed a deal with 2K and now has to fucking fulfill that. But, I mean, video games shouldn't be defining who is going to the main event of WrestleMania. It's disappointing that we've...
I mean, Sting wasn't in the main event at WrestleMania. He was on the game. Ultimate Warrior was, he wasn't in the main event.
Well, Ultimate Warrior ended up in the Hall of Fame, though, and Sting did end up wrestling at WrestleMania. So exactly. I understand what Dave's trying to say.
My point is that you're being exposed at the what do they call it? What's it called? Of champions. They've got that phrase that they always use. The stage of champions, or...
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but
yeah, I mean, this is supposed to be my goddamn Christmas. I want to fucking enjoy myself. I really do, but it just seems to be that, I don't know. It's half-assed, at least, especially this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm over that at this point. I mean, I think they've, obviously most of that stuff's been a failure since it started, for me, at least my eyes. Watching Raw is a fail to me usually. So I've just given up on that. I mean, they're not writing anything better. They need to make a change to do it. It's the same thing every week, unless the only difference is the bigger stars, and we're coming towards WrestleMania. But the build is nowhere near anything we even saw back. I mean, the fucking build with Doink and Crush was better than fucking half this shit.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, come on.
That's honest truth, really.
Yeah, it's not a joke, I mean, and then what happened at WrestleMania 2 Crush when the Doinks, beating him up with the arm, and then like continuing on from there. It's like that's better than pretty much almost everything.
And Crush sucked. So
yeah, and
I
Crush
mean, that's
was
saying
awful.
a lot.
He had that music that like they gave to anybody who was big that almost sounded the same. Like his music almost sounded just like Sid's. Like Sid's was like well, like Crush's
was very generic.
Crush's was almost the same thing, dude.
Yeah, you're right.
Go look up later on. Go look up Kona Crush's theme, fucking at that time, and then look up fucking Sid's music. And like, I'm not talking about the new Sid. Like Sid's music ended up becoming the fucking ding 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 ding. But before that, he had
the Psycho.
Yeah, he had the fucking It's fucking. It's really weird. They're like the same song almost, but they're just slightly different.
Yeah, I mean, with the advertising for WrestleMania, the focus has been on two things. Is this The Undertaker's last match, and will Roman, embrace the hate and then turn heel? That's where everybody's eyes have been. And also, is Goldberg and Brock going to seek redemption for their WrestleMania 20 match? And we really, unfortunately, the build has been so lackluster that we don't give a damn about either one of these matches. We've talked them to death, and it's at the point now where I just want to see what happens. I am interested to see what comes of Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens, though. I mean, we saw Jericho get beat down last week, and, I'm curious to see what happens there. So, will Chris Jericho finally go ahead and, I mean, he exposed Kevin Owens as a fan of Jericho who idolized him, and he showed the picture of Kevin Owens as a teenager. Their match should be, one of the best of the night. One of, as I say, and hopefully they give them the time and the patience needed to actually go the full test of time, and they make it something worthwhile, because it really could be a spectacle. Think about it. Jericho's been great in the ring. This is the most over he's been in, I want to say, at least a decade. That's for sure. The list is huge.
Mm-hmm.
He's gotten the catchphrases, running galore, and Kevin Owens is a monster heel. So this really could be something memorable.
I hope it is. What do you guys foresee going on with that match? Do you think that Kevin Owens is going to win, or do you think that Jericho? I think Owens is going to win.
You honestly think Owens is going to
take
the title from Jericho?
I believe that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you want the face almost over in this situation. Like, he's got to get back at Kevin Owens kind of stabbed him in the back and all this stuff, and Jericho's needs to get a win and get this whole list and the thing going. But I do think that I think Jericho wants to give Owens a win at WrestleMania and wants to put him over and wants to pass the torch, and it also helps Owens just get more heat and stuff. So I think Owens is winning. Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, that's what I would do.
I hate to agree with you, but I do there as well.
You hate to agree with me? Why is that?
Well, I don't want to always agree with you, but I like to
stop pandering.
Exactly.
Stop pandering.
Great minds think alike. So,
my mind sucks.
Just for the audience that wants to know what that means, is there's a lot of idiots out there in the chat that write comments that are basically like, "Why are you agreeing with Joe all the time? You're just pandering." It's like, at certain points, you do have to agree that some people are right. I mean, it's insane to not do so. So go fuck yourselves.
Exactly. Obviously, you've heard me say, when I don't agree with something, I call something as it is. I mean, you argued with me up and down that Bayley wouldn't take that title that night, and I stood by that, and I was called crazy for it, and it happened. It's when we agree, it's because it's pretty much spelt out. So, speaking of Bayley, though, yet again, she's being booked as a huge underdog, and they've done it in such a bland manner that her character is so just there's no interest in there. She has no charisma. There's no remarkable thing that she possesses. As where in NXT, the underdog story suited her well, but on the main roster, it feels like a dead horse. Just beaten to the point of a bloody pulp.
Very much, actually. It's unfortunate, though.
And now we've seen her lose twice in 2 weeks. On the way to WrestleMania, we've seen the champ get beat first by Sasha to make it a triple threat match, and then by Nia Jax to make it a fatal four-way. So we've seen the champion lose twice. Right. So we have no faith in our women's champion whatsoever. So far, she's won the title and then won one tag match and then lost twice. Clean. She's been pinned clean in the center of the ring on the way to WrestleMania. So,
it's really weird. That whole booking has been bizarre. You're right. She's lost a bunch. Like I've said that too. Like it's like what's going on here, and it's weakened that whole thing. That the Raw women's division is a fuck bag. It is so screwed up. Charlotte should look like a beast, but I'm confused by her actually. And then it's like Sasha just can't seem to get there, and Bayley doesn't seem right. And now you throw Nia Jax, who almost wasn't really seemingly ready, but was she? And what? And it's just, oh man, I mean, I'm telling you, the only thing they're gonna have to save this division at WrestleMania by having an unfucking believable match. Like they're gonna have to do some shit. Like I'm talking about tables, fucking ladders, maybe. Like I mean, they're gonna have to go all out. Like
if they don't have an 11 out of 10 match, then it's done for them at this point, and that's sad to say. And I mean, Dana Brooke, they're canceling the build that they had in mind for her. If you look at it, she's been Charlotte's lackey for quite a long time now. she's been very poorly under the tutelage of Charlotte, and she goes ahead 2 weeks ago and she says, "That's it, I've had enough." She snaps and the crowd gets behind her. You even heard some, small "this is awesome" chants.
Yeah.
And she took Charlotte down, and then last week in less than minutes Charlotte pins her clean. And that's it. And now we're reading reports that, her push is over and they have different plans in mind for her.
For Charlotte. Well, they should almost...
No, for Dana.
Oh, for Dana Brooke. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Dana Brooke. Yeah, well, she shouldn't be in it anyway. At this point. But yeah, dude, it's such a it's completely discombobulated. The entry into WrestleMania, I believe, for these girls to me is botched, but whatever. It can be saved by a good match. Sort of. You'll forget about the whole whatever the build is for the most part if the match is awesome. So. Good luck.
I want to see the match end properly. I don't want to see, last year was a really good match, but because Ric Flair got involved and held Sasha back from breaking up, finisher with Charlotte, Becky Lynch, it was just very disappointing. It took away from that special feeling for me. I don't want to see any dusty finishes. I want this to end clear and concise. I don't want to see any bullshit endings at Mania. I'm hoping they don't give us any screw job and wacky finishes. They will, but I'm really hoping that that's not what we see.
Oh, this is great. Some girl posted there was a hair versus beard match hair versus beard match at Top Rope Promotions the other night. So I'm sitting at the table calling the stuff, and the guy who shaved his beard leaves, and the guy's left in the ring waking up realizing his beard's gone, and I just thought to myself, he's going to be in the ring. And he's going to have his beard was only half shaved, so he could still feel it, but he doesn't really know what it looks like. So as a commentator, I'm sitting up at the booth, and I was like, I don't know if I should do this. And I was like, I'm going to do this. So I jumped off the announce table, ran down to the ring with my phone, and as he was holding onto the second rope, I got on the ring apron, and I got sort of to the side of the ring, and I brought my phone in the ring, and I'm like, dude, look, and I got the camera on so he can see himself. And he looks in and he goes, "Oh!" and he starts getting really mad and freaking out all over the ring. And I quickly jumped off the ring and ran away. And it was just, and I was laughing and stuff. And it was so funny because I was just like, someone's gonna he's gonna see himself. And I thought maybe one of the fans would hold up their camera or something. And nobody was doing that. And I was like, we got to get that reaction that he sees. Oh shit! Because there's no mirror.
Yeah, too bad you didn't have the foresight to bring out, a hand mirror or something with you. That would have really added to it. But doing the phone was the next best thing. And, that's the kind of ingenuity that you have as a commentator. And that's why we do give you all the credit in the world, because that was perfect. It definitely added to it. It made his reaction even more genuine. So.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, they're going to get mad at me because I just all of a sudden run down in the ring. But I was like, no, this is a great idea. I got to do this. So I got off the commentary tag. Hey, I gotta go show him what he looks like, And I put the mic down and ran down. And he was great though. His reaction is awesome. It's really funny. I'll send you the video. I just tweeted out the video so you can actually watch the whole thing. There's a highlight, it's like a 1 minute 30-second highlight of the whole match, and then you'll see me run up. So it's kind of cool. Anyway,
wait to check that out.
Just random for everybody. It's on my Twitter. I'll pin it to the top of my Twitter so you can laugh at it. Great. Brandon Webb, The Devil's Reject, and Wildman Congo. Had the match, and so maybe people are familiar with Wildman Congo if you attend Monster Factory and some of the other places throughout the country. But yeah, shit, I don't know where else to go from here. What else we got left?
Yeah, there's also Asuka might make her debut doing double duty this weekend in the open challenge, basically for the women's match on the SmackDown side. Also, guest entrance, as we noted before, was Kelly and other returning favorites, like Victoria and things like that. So we'll see what comes out of there. But hopefully that isn't a total clusterfuck. I'm hoping that it's not a complete mess where you have, over the top rope elimination style. I don't want to see just one pinfall and have the match be over either. So I'm curious how they're gonna manage this. Is it going to be elimination style? How many entrances they're going to be? But one thing that I am excited for is that the Hardys did win their trademark.
Yes.
That. They noted that.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
Matt did reply to you on Twitter.
Yes.
That was a great little exchange, Joe, if you want to talk about that quickly.
Yeah. I made a video because I got my Fuck That Owl shirt, and Matt, I think we might have mentioned it the other day because, Dave, he used such a big word. It was amazing.
I said, Your perspicacity is absolutely prodigious. Broken one.
But they've been granted, the trademark for the broken, storyline that they've been using, and along with Revy and all that stuff. So that's great to hear. So a lot of people are actually still convinced that the Hardys are going to show up at WrestleMania and challenge the Usos for the tag team gold.
Yeah, I mean,
if it happens, I'm going to mark out like no other before, but I'm still not so sold on that idea.
Because I mean, technically, even though they got the trademark, couldn't they still be sued and everything, and like they could, There
could be ongoing legal issues, but if they've won this copyright, then Anthem, although they might try to start a legal war, already has one strike against them with this ruling.
You're right.
So, you know what? It's just, and the problem is they might not do this. Anthem is fucking retarded. They've already demonstrated this. They might continue to appeal. So the Hardys might be involved in a long-standing legal battle and dispute, as you mentioned, Joe, on a few videos, where unfortunately what would happen if these guys were caught up in this sort of legal proceeding for 2 years? How would it adversely affect their brand? And that, I think, is the most important thing right now that should be considered, because they're trying to travel all over the world. They're making a name for themselves, and they're keeping that brand going. But with interference from Anthem, who knows what will happen?
You know who Anthem reminds me of? Oh, damn, I just closed all my windows. You know who Anthem reminds me of? They remind me of Bold Guy suing fucking H3H3, like just unnecessarily, like almost like, even though they have more validation to sue than Bold Guy does, but I mean, it just reminds me of that sort of petty fucking like bullshit,
Exactly. It's basically.
Imagine they show back up at Impact and it was a big fucking work.
Oh my god, yeah, and all the shit that's going on in between, but
that ain't gonna happen.
If only. But no, you're right. It's just a way for them to tie it up in the meantime. I mean, everything that Ethan's going through, all this is doing is eating up, funds for them to have a defense attorney and have to go through the court system.
Yeah.
I mean, their bill was
Wasting
something like
time.
what, $54,000 a month. Ethan said in that video. So
ridiculous, dude. They're wasting everyone's time. They're wasting the courts.
Yep.
All because they made a video criticizing the guy and he got fucking butthurt because he's a crazy psychopath.
Exactly,
And
all under the name of
are.
fair use.
Yeah,
he's
you are
trying
a
to
psychopath.
challenge and say it was, infringing on him. Bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it got this far, to be honest.
Because the
with
guy's
you. I
a
wish
psycho.
It got thrown out right away.
He's rapey. He's fucking crazy, dude. This guy's a psycho.
But I'm saying it should have gotten thrown out right away. That's what sucks.
That's a great point. Yeah, maybe it should have, but because it's a copyright thing, like they have to look at it, and like it was in the video, I don't know. It's bullshit, though. It's stupid, and it shows you that anybody can just sue it. It's so ridiculous. It's YouTube.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But maybe it's a business to Bold Guy. I don't know. What else do we? Is there anything else to go on? Anything else?
Yeah, the last thing we mentioned before, really, really quickly here, is the canceled matches that they had at WrestleMania this year. Number 5 being The Rock and Vin Diesel, because of Fast and the Furious 8, The Fate of the Furious.
I am Groot.
Originally, Rock said, I'd love to do something like a promo in the ring, and Vin Diesel can be there too. And Vince said that he wouldn't want The Rock to show up unless The Rock had a match. And unfortunately, with Baywatch and Fast and the Furious coming out back-to-back, the insurance company that The Rock has refused him the ability to wrestle. They don't want him getting injured, and he wouldn't have time to train for a match anyways, so Vince passed up on that. Number 4 is John Cena and The Undertaker. Of course, The Undertaker's health took precedence over, the time frame. They're not sure if he'll be able to go to another WrestleMania, so they're trying to pass the torch. There. Number 3 was John Cena versus Samoa Joe. This was reportedly planned for a while, but they were quickly thrown out the window once Joe debuted on Raw, one night removed from the Royal Rumble. At one time, Joe was winding down his tenure in NXT, and when Cena had the title, they thought Joe might make the perfect opponent, but obviously that didn't happen. Another match, which we kind of forgot about, was Brock Lesnar versus Shane McMahon, because when Brock busted open Randy Orton, Brock also F5 Shane McMahon that night, if you recall.
Yeah, you're
Remember,
right.
he was in the ring and he F5 Shane and got into his face.
Yeah,
and
threw that whole thing out.
Yeah, it was a rumor at that point that was going to happen. And number one, of course, is Big Show versus Shaquille O'Neal. So, and we know that went the way of the Dodo. So,
wait a minute, this guy. I'm sorry. Someone just sent me something as you were reading this, and yeah, I'm glad. They just scrapped it. I mean, it was cool, but it did seem like Shane was hot and he was going to do something, and then. That was, by the way, there's more building WrestleMania. They were starting to build towards that 7 months ago or whatever it was, towards WrestleMania. Exactly. And that got thrown out or whatever they were doing. I don't know. We got to get out of here. I guess we could have. I really wanted. This guy just got arrested for dressing as the Joker.
I heard about this. I had this sent to me earlier. Yeah.
He'd give Tommy NC nightmares.
Yeah, this guy is the real fucking deal, dude. And he got arrested for carrying a sword, dressed as the Joker. But listen to this: 23-year-old Jeremy Putman is charged with wearing a mask in public. That's a felony.
Well, this is the guy
really?
out in
because
Virginia.
All those Antifa protesters sure as fuck aren't getting arrested for having their face covered.
Yeah, so a felony that can result in a sentence of a year jail time. He's held on $2,000 secured bond, and he's being charged with wearing a mask in public.
Yeah, they said, although it may seem surprising that wearing a mask in public is a felony, police said it wants to remind the community of the seriousness of the crime. And it's part of Virginia Code 18.2-422. It shall be unlawful for any person over 16 years of age with the intent to conceal his identity, wear any mask, hood, or other device whereby a substantial portion of the face is hidden or covered, conceal the identity of the wearer, to be or appear in any public place or upon private property.
What if this guy just wants to... What if he identifies as a fucking clown? Wait a minute. Because Caitlyn Jenner and everybody else... So wait a minute. What if I identify as the Joker? What if I identify as a clown? What if I like dressing up? That's my thing. I can't do that? Are you fucking kidding? You're telling me that you have to call me a girl if I'm a man-girl thing? And but if I fucking wear a mask because that's what I like, that's a problem?
A man-girl thing. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, and he wasn't even harassing or threatening anyone. Police in Winchester County said that they received several calls, in quotes, around 2 p.m. on Friday of suspicious male wearing a black cape and carrying a sword walking around the city.
This isn't fucking Japan with samurais. You just can't really just walk around with a fucking sword. You can with an AR-15, which is for another topic.
Yeah,
I support it.
You can walk around with an AR-15, but you can't walk around with a sword.
The sword is the big issue. Personally, I think, why not? But, I mean, if you look at this guy and the way that he was painted up, yeah, I would probably have shot him on sight, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he would give Tommy a run for his money.
What if he just likes
He'd scare the shit out of Tommy. This is a true psychopath.
You guys want to play a game? I brought my sword with me. I like to cut myself with my fucking sword.
Holy shit, that sounds good.
I mean, like, imagine this guy walking into Dunkin' Donuts. Like, hey, what the hell, sir? What is it, Halloween? Would you like a donut?
Just put the donuts on my sword.
My mom used to give me donuts when I was a little boy.
You know how I got these scars?
But one day, my mom wanted to make things a little more exciting, and she stuck razor blades in the donuts. I didn't know that, and I ate the donut. And then I started to feel the pain, and my mouth started to bleed. Why did my mother do this to me? Like get out of the fucking donut shop! Get this fucking guy out of here! How quick into that story would you be like, get this motherfucker out of here?
Yeah, cut his mic. Cut his mic.
Cut his head off. No, but he's with the sword. You're right. I would have quit. All right, if he's got the sword in like one of those casings, like so it's on his back like a ninja, I think he might get away with that because it's like in the case, locked in the case. It's almost attributable to like, okay, because like you said, you can carry a gun around, right? That's fucked up. Technically, you can carry the gun around. Well, if you're walking around cocking the gun, like that's fucked up. Like, why is this guy cocking the gun and like fucking like and walking around? You're gonna get arrested. If you have the gun like on your side, hip, holstered, like technically you should be fine. There shouldn't be any reason. You're not intimidating anyone really. But if you were to walk around with like 5 guns, you know, like all over you, or, like that's sort of the. So I sort of see like a sharp knife, a sharp sword. You're walking around in public in like a shopping area. Like I could see how the sharp sword is the equivalent to a guy walking around cocking an AK-47, or even holding the AK-47 out. Like I guess, right? Like if it's like. I don't know, dude. Who the fuck walks around with a fucking AK-47? Who walks around with a goddamn sword dressed as the Joker?
You see that in Texas, but again, if you're just like, you know, you've got it on you and you're not using it and, you know, you're just exercising your right, well, then there's no big issue. But with the sword, though, there are those suspicions. It's like, it's not Japan. Why do you have a sword?
I'm not wearing underwear.
Maybe he really likes sushi and, you know...
You know, Batman.
He's gonna go fishing.
Technically,
this guy looks
I'm
crazy.
of the belief that you should be able to have a sword if you want. I mean,
well, yeah. There's been a bunch of sword murders recently, though. There's been like what 2 attacks.
And that's why, you know.
If someone wants to kill, you know, guns aren't the only way.
The sword doesn't kill people.
They're gonna find a way to hurt someone.
You can use a shovel to kill somebody. I mean, like
exactly.
Use your fist.
If there's a, they'll use a lawnmower. If they have a leaf blower, they can shove it up your ass and be.
We're
creative,
gonna have a tax on swords.
How about the knockout game? What do you do there? People died from that. You not punch in the head and you fall on the curb. It's just as bad.
Them.
Yeah, anybody doing the knockout game really should be fucking knocked. Like really. Honestly,
dude, we're getting, like I said this the other day, we're getting to the point where we will see a fucking Running Man TV show. It's only a matter of time.
That would be great. As long as it, like we said, as long as it's done where it's like, you know, we're not, anybody who could possibly be innocent, like we're not hurting them, you know? Put them in jail.
I mean, sadly, I have to agree with you, is if these people can be proven to be guilty of those crimes, of those excessive crimes where they need to be executed, and perhaps the government could make some money from a pay-per-view event. Well, unfortunately, that's a win-win situation for everyone. So, as bad as that sounds, well, ándale.
Yes, string them up.
Well, speaking of pay-per-view event, did you hear about a real-life Hunger Games?
We're better than that,
coming to Russia.
In Russia.
Gentleman,
In Russia.
Guy.
What?
He wanted to go ahead and start a real-life Hunger Games. A group of people from around the globe has agreed to take part in a real-life Hunger Games, competing in a controversial new game show in Russia, where fighting, rape, and even murder would be legal. And it wouldn't be legal; it'd be allowed.
Isn't it already?
The deadly contest, dubbed Game 2: Winter, will be held on a remote Siberian island in the Obi River and broadcast worldwide on the internet in July, according to Siberian Times. There'll be 30 participants who include ex-military.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, all sorts of a man from South Korea, a student from Sweden, a self-described professional blonde from the Russian Arctic. They've all signed a release of liability for injury as well as death waivers, in addition to agreeing to not hold the organizers accountable if they were to commit a crime during the filming. So it's basically, it's not legal. Like if they commit a crime, they can still be held accountable for their actions, but not until the show's over. Everything's allowed, though. Fighting, alcohol, murder, rape, smoking, anything the rules said. You know, so...
But then they could still get in trouble when the show's over? That's not worth it.
The producers wouldn't intervene if something sinister were to happen while the cameras were rolling. We won't, he said. I'm pretty sure there will be fights and more. We are not scared of negative reaction if that happens. This is the raw Siberian, you know, anything can happen, and we may not be on time to solve an emergency.
Oh, my God.
And I guess...
Well, send this fucking clown over there. Send this fucking clown. Hey, guys.
There'll be a ground team on duty and one of 2 helicopters for emergency situations. Having said that, bears can run as fast as 60 kilometers, 37 miles per hour, and our 2,000 cameras on the island would not be able to cover every centimeter of the forest.
Want to see my sword?
So, it's going to be like a Hunger Games, basically, until, you know, the last person alive wins, and there's going to be a prize pool. So,
wow.
No one has ever done it as a real thing where people will actually have to use every skill they ever gained, social, physical, psychological, to survive.
Perhaps
there is nothing like this show in the whole world.
Maybe Bane could join. I am used to the cold of Siberia. I will mutilate the bodies before I fuck them.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. This is getting really weird.
Giving back to you, the people. I love the fact that
dress them all up
Trump
like Batman
said that
characters.
during his inauguration.
Yeah, that
like
was...
his writers were channeling Bane.
Yeah,
clearly.
Yeah, it was great. I remember that. Oh
If we give it to you, the people.
I love it. So...
Just put the fucking put all the characters from Batman in this Siberia thing, and I'll watch that. All right, fucking Batman.
Ryan, I'm coming for you.
The only rule is they have to be always stay in character, and if any one of them sort of comes out of the character, they get murdered. Like that. That would be the great. Like they all have to be like.
Now to sort of think about it, Trump is sort of like Bane.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
that's kind of scary.
Well, that's what.
Whoa, dude, what's going on? I don't understand.
You trying out for the new Bill and Ted movie?
I'm tripping out, dude.
Are you gonna be in the new Bill and Ted? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, Bill and Ted's 3, dude.
Rufus.
Time for retirement.
He killed Rufus.
It just makes me sad when I think about Bill and Ted. It just reminds me that George Carlin's no longer.
That's what I mean. They got to do. They have to like. It has to be the like. George Carlin would want to be in the movie. I think they should.
They could make him into a holographic projection.
Yes.
Which fucks up.
Yeah.
And like,
glitches
dude,
out.
They've got to save Rufus. Well,
actually, it
from
should be
hell. They got to save him from hell.
Rufus died like 20 years ago.
Here's your story.
Well, you could because we have so much footage of George Carlin. If you could get in touch with the Carlin estate, you could cut it into like him talking.
If they could make Forrest Gump fucking talk to like 3 dead presidents, then I think that they can fucking make George Carlin like Rufus, of the 21st century, and
that'd be awesome.
And they could make it in our movie if they wanted to, because really the audience has grown up with it. So those that watched it as a kid want to sort of see a more adult version, I think.
Yeah,
but I think we've kind of gone a little far from wrestling to Bill and Ted's.
Well, I'm gonna cut this and put this part on Shame on News. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna leave the whole thing on State of the WWE. Fuck it, people like to listen to this.
People will enjoy it. They'll like it. And if they don't, I got 2 words for you.
Talking about?
But this is what we talk about over on Shame on News sometimes. So that's what happens, and in general. But this fucking clown guy creeped me out, and I just can't believe he got arrested for a felony because he had a mask, because he painted his face. So it wasn't even a mask.
Well, especially to be regarded as a felony.
The sword thing is weird, but.
Yeah.
If he didn't have if he didn't have the sword, I would really be mad about this. But the fact that he has the sword
is the only thing that adds to
like what you. You're almost are you intimidating people? Like what's going on here? Or you're either going to do something, or you're intimidating people, or you're filming something. You know what I mean? If you had like a camera crew and they were like shooting something for YouTube, absolutely this guy should not be arrested. Like they should be able to figure that out. But if this guy's just walking around like, oh yeah,
I don't know how I got these scars.
You know where I got this sword? I got this sword from my fucking dad. Like, yeah, that's creepy. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. This is part 2 of State of the WWE episode 84. If you missed part 1, why the fuck did you listen to part 2 for a second? I don't know. But make sure you listen to part 1 of State of the WWE episode 84. This is part 2, guys. Thanks for listening. Subscribe down below. Don't miss out on my daily videos of wrestling content. Plus, Shame on News, the other YouTube channel we talk about this type of shit on. And we'll be live after Monday Night Raw to break down wrestling for you. And if you listen to this entire thing, I want you to write the Joker's cock in the comments section. Make sure to hit me up on Twitter at JoeCroninJCS. And, of course, if you guys want to support the show and you like all this content, you guys are the ones that are going to be funding it because Google's fucking cutting half my budget. So go to patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show and become a Cronin Club member for $5 a month or $1 a month or whatever you think this show is worth a month that you can afford. Don't kill yourselves, but fuck it, $1, $2, $3, it all helps. There are some crazy bastards doing $25 a month, and when you do that, I do a Skype one-on-one with you. And then there's some other perks that you can see on the Patreon. Just make sure to message me about them if I haven't done them with you on Patreon. And that's it. Check out these other videos that you might have missed. And thanks for listening.